see it, babe. Oh, there it is.
Okay, we're live. Cam and Francis are here for This Is Video live number 8 today. That's right. Yeah, this is 8. And in this live, we're talking about the number 3773. Well, Francis is going to do most of the talking about it since it's the gematria for the number. But 3773, or if you take that apart and do 3773, those numbers are God's numeric signatures. So if you see those numbers, in addition to other numbers like repeating numbers like 111 or 222, 333, 3773, or 37 or 73 are also important numbers to take note of. If you see them on receipts or on license plates or, all the things, addresses. The other thing that we're going to be talking about in this video is the dreaded 666 that's so famous in Hollywood horror, and how it's like, known as the number of the devil and all these things, and how gematrically that's actually not the case. So 666 is nothing to be worried about if you're pricing that way or doing any of the things that way, or you see that number. It doesn't mean anything bad. It's not a nomen or anything like that. So I just wanted to talk a little bit about those numbers. And then just wanted to say that in your readings, like in your mini reading, or if you end up doing a full reading, so if you do this duo, this mini reading, or you end up doing a full reading, all of the numbers that are in there can also be, they're your particular numbers. So they become numbers that you can use, when you see them in your life that God's confirming things for you. You can use them in your pricing if you have a business. It's fun to do that. I do that all the time. But of course, now I'm getting hiccups, sorry. But of course, mostly it's just so that you know your numbers. So, okay, tell us about 3773, because I love this.
Well, first I thought you were going to talk about the overall, like if it could be misused and all that stuff.
Yes! Okay, thank you for that. Yeah. I get all excited talking about the actual numbers. Okay, so the reason why we're going to bring up 666 is because anything can be misused, right? So we talk about how wealth in the hands of somebody who wants to use it for sinister purposes, it will be sinister. Wealth in the hands of somebody, Cammy's saying hello, wealth in the hands of somebody who's using it for blessing and good and all the and all of that, it's amazing, right? So the same thing goes for everything, right? So something that is used by somebody for sinister purposes or for negative purposes will be that. Something that's used for good will be that. But everything, every single thing has the imprint of God, and it's God's. And that's why numerically it's so fun to take a look at these things. You can add more. I know that
Sorry, I just missed that last part.
No, I was just talking about how, like, anything. It's who we are when we experience those things.
Yeah, I think it's against the background of some people put like 666, there's this dichotomy, and then there's
You're scooting because you're kind of out of the thing.
There's the good numbers, there's God's numbers, and then there's, like 666, which is not God's numbers. And that's not really true, the main reason why 37 and 73, those are, people call them God's numeric signatures, is that the very first verse in Genesis 1:1, reads, in the beginning God created the heavens and the earth. The value for that verse is 37 times 73, which is 2,701. Now it's one of the cool numbers because it has this really unique, very cool property that if you were to add 2,701 and you were to add it to its mirror reflection, sometimes they call it mirror reflection, and its mirror reflection would be, it's just like in reverse, right? So it would be 1,072. If you were to add those numbers together, you would get 3,773. So again, so if you multiply 37 and 73, that's the value of the first verse of Genesis.
The gematric value.
The gematric value is right.
In Hebrew.
In Hebrew. the Hebrew standard value is 37 times 73 is 2,701. If you were to add 2,701 to its mirror reflection, which is 1,072, you get the number 3773. So it's kind of this neat thing. And so, I think it's almost natural to associate, well, that's the good number. And then the 666, for example, is not. And I think we were just, I think that this video is just to say, well, that's not, really true. you know.
Well, it's not true at all.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's right. Yeah.
So,
You know.
not to disagree with you, because I'm not
No, you're
disagreeing
right.
with you. I'm just being more
Yeah.
definitive.
Yeah, and yeah, all of it belongs to God. You know, it's like that's how I like to put it. You know.
And gematrically 666, it's much more complex to explain than the 3773, because it includes figurative geometry and a whole bunch of other things. So it's not as easy to explain
Yeah.
without having like
Yeah.
a document, or having it on paper, and because we're doing a live and we don't have a way to write it. But it's actually come out in some of the people's charts that we've done, where we've explained 666 because it's been in their chart, and we didn't want them to be like, oh my gosh, I have 666 in my chart, what does this mean?
Yeah.
Because
Actually,
go ahead. No,
actually, I was just gonna
Here, they
say
can't
that
see you.
I was gonna say that 666 actually enters into the whole 3773 part. So once you once you see that the 666 actually enters into it, you know, and which is hard to explain, you know, here just talking about it. But once you see that it's part and parcel of 37 and 73, which is part of Genesis 1, then you'll see that there's really nothing intrinsically malevolent or sinister or even negative about it. You know, and this is to the point about you know, sometimes gematria is associated as negative associations, but just like anything else, and I think Cam, you were mentioning that when I left, is that anything could be misused.
Yeah. Well, because Francis and I were talking earlier, and we've had this conversation many times. Like, some people get worried that, like, oh my gosh, you know, numerology or gematria or something, you know, it's outside of what feels safe, right? Although when you really lean into your spiritual gifts and, you know, you really get intuitively grounded, you recognize the exact point that Francis just said, which is everything is of God unless it's being used for sinister motives, right? And it's just for anything, right? And so we just really wanted to bring this point up because it felt really important in light of, you know, everything we've been talking about today on how to understand or receive this information. Because it's very like, because it's done through gematria and it's done through mathematics, it's got this very, like, kind of set in stone and something you can, like, you know, kind of ground yourself on a little bit, but it's also mystical and intuitive, and it's actually the marriage between the two, or the synergism between the two that makes it so powerful. So, is there anything else you wanted to add?
No, that's it. Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, I think I didn't put it in that way, but that sounds right.
Yeah. So, okay, we'll be back in another hour. We've got more exciting stuff to talk about. That we were just making a list of all the stuff that was intuitively coming in for us in the next. So we have 4 more of these lives today. And if you want to grab yours for $155 today, amazing. They'll be $222 starting tomorrow for the mini readings, and they're $9.99 for the full readings. Okay. Before we close our phone. Okay. See you later.